Welcome to the Point Out Loud Women Trailblazers podcast, Series 10 of Pointers Leading Together, brought to you by the Salzman Center of Women's Leadership. Here at UW-Stevens Point, we believe that meaningful change begins with students and leaders who are committed to shaping a more inclusive, innovative, and empowered campus.
This series highlights the voices of passionate students who are making a meaningful impact on their campus and in their communities. From campus initiatives to workplace programs, these leaders are redefining what it means to lead with compassion and purpose.
As Frida Kahlo once said, at the end of the day, we can endure much more than we think we can. Today, we honor the students showing resilience and courage in every step they take.
Friends, I took so many notes during this conversation with Lexi and Raegan. I'm telling you, my page is full because it is so powerful. You can palpably feel the determination coming off of these leaders. And so I want you to get your seatbelts on because we talk about legacy, keeping organizations alive, resisting our people-pleasing urges, and really just being our best selves and what that looks like. We're so excited to have you join us. Let's get started.
Well, welcome you two to the podcast. So excited to have you guys here. Do you kind of want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, I'm Lexi. I am currently a junior here at UWSP, and I am a media studies and arts management double major, and then a minor in women's and gender studies. I kind of chose UWSP just because of the environment and the media studies program here, and I've had a lot of fun since then.
My name is Raegan, and I'm also a junior at UWSP. I'm a media studies and philosophy double major, and I kind of live close by, so that's why I went to UWSP, but I found the media studies department through Pointer Studios, and it's ever since been that road for me.
Tell us a little bit about like what you're involved, because I see like you guys are involved in Pointer Studios. Tell us a little bit more about what else you're involved around campus.
Yeah, so on top of the TV and film club, we also are both RAs in housing, and so I am an RA in Steiner, and I'm on the IDEA floor, so it's more of the queer community that I am leading, specifically creating that environment there, and then I'll let Raegan talk first.
Yeah, I'm also involved in Pointer Studios, but I'm an RA in the suites as well, and yeah, we don't really have communities on those, but I try to make it one big cohesive community.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. So now to kind of jump into a lot of these questions, tell us a little bit about how you started to get involved with all of these different leadership programs that you are involved in right now.
Yeah, for me specifically in Pointer Studios, I went to the Media Studies 001 class, which kind of just introduces the major to everyone. And the general manager at the time was Amini Hoff, and she kind of roped us into joining the studio, saying that it was super fun and we should definitely be there. And so I kind of showed up, did as much as I possibly could for the organization, and then I eventually got a production assistant role my freshman year there. So I was hired on, and then since then I kind of worked my way up, kind of putting in my all that I could, and just kind of giving back and improving my media skills specifically for Pointer Studios.
I was originally introduced to Pointer Studios through the 001 course as well, but also a high school friend of ours, we just went to the Pointer Studios general meeting, and that's when I met Lexi freshman year. And yeah, I've just stuck around. We came in kind of through the news vein because we have 4 different veins. We've got news, entertainment, sports, and film society. And yeah, I kind of just worked as a general member the first year, and then the second year I was the entertainment producer, and then kind of just worked my way up as well for the rest of the ranks for that.
I love that. I have to say, I know some students for media studies and I know some professors for media studies, but I'm really unfamiliar, honestly, with the depth of the curriculum and the kind of things you get to do. So I'd love to hear just a little bit more about the media studies area, and then how you're pairing that, right? Each of you have media studies, but you're pairing it with other things. So I just love to hear a little bit about that.
Yeah, media studies, it's kind of like 3 branches of it. Like there's the criticism and like kind of like more formal writing of like in deep dive of it, and there's like the production level of it, and there's also like the writing side of it. So there's kind of those like 3 branches, but there's a ton of different classes. Like there's a ton of like production classes, whether it's audio or video or even a podcasting class.
Awesome.
And there's just like, we've taken criticism classes with Professor Kelly Wills. She teaches like a bunch of, it's kind of just like deep diving, thinking about it a little bit deeper and understanding how media is used.
Yeah.
And then like Liz, Vacacious, like she often teaches like the journalism and writing courses. So there's kind of like those three branches, but there's little ones that kind of stray outside. Like Carrie Elza teaches a lot of history, so we get a little bit of the history side of it as well. But yeah, that's kind of like the major, and it pairs really well because it's not like, I mean, it's not a huge, super intensive major, but also it is applicable to everything. Media is used for everything, like business. Everybody's got a social media page. Everybody's got like something to say, a YouTube channel. So it's definitely pairable with everything. I found philosophy to pair well just because it kind of helps deepen the critical thinking kind of side of things, especially when like media is such an informative and like mass-produced thing that it's very nice to have like, you know, to think critically and not just be blasting anything that's going to make you, you know, money on the internet. So I think that's partially why I like it. But I also really liked a professor, Dr. Charles Horn. He was one of the first professors in philosophy I had. And he really just was like, opened my eyes to it. I didn't even see it as like a major, let alone a like career.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. That's kind of how I went.
All right. Shout out to, say that professor's name again?
Dr. Charles Horn.
All right. Shout out to Dr. Charles Horn. And I know Kelly and Liz, and I think they're awesome humans. So lots of good influences.
Heck yeah. I kind of have similar answer to Raegan here, but I think the media studies department specifically pairs well with any major that you choose because of how much media is in our everyday life. Like everyone has their phone with them. Everyone is always consuming something at some point. And I think media studies in specific can just pair well with anything. And specifically for arts management, there's going to be an upcoming class next semester that Professor Jim O'Connell and Kevin Upsatz are both running a film festival exhibition class. So like we're pairing together to run our own film festival. And I think specifically for me, I find a lot of joy in like planning and event planning, that kind of stuff, which is kind of why I was also an RA, because you plan events.
Yeah.
And so I think media studies can bring you all of the skills in terms of like video, photography, sound, whatever that is. And then you compare it with just like the businessy side of skills.
Yeah. So I'm getting the sense, and one of the reasons I wanted to dig into this a little bit, I'm getting the sense that matters of gender come up quite a bit. Yeah. And you've been learning to think critically about that. So you're on a podcast that is, you know, in that gender space, right? We're trying to elevate something that has historically not always been elevated. So I'm curious, does the topic of gender come up is it part of your experience here on UWSP or your experience in your classes?
Yeah, absolutely. The main reason I decided to be a minor in women's and gender study was because of Professor Kelly Wills. We took her 106 class, which is just like an introduction to criticism and just looking at movies and thinking critically about them. And we talked a lot about like women's roles. Like we talked about the slasher films and like how women are depicted in slasher films. And I think that was such a big moment my freshman year to be like, oh my gosh, I've been consuming all of this media and a lot of it is just like dehumanizing women or, you know, pushing them down or giving them the same roles over and over again. And like that was the big push for me motivationally to like start making movies of my own that are like boosting women and are like saying that they are worth more than whatever they're depicted as on screen.
Yeah.
I'm kind of similarly, we talked about it in 106 as well, but I've kind of been familiar with it before, but the idea of when I found out what the Bechdel test was and like applying it to every movie of like, is there two women who talk about anything but a man together at any point in the movie? And that's kind of like, that's something that I've realized that not a lot of movies, especially mainstream movies, pass that test. And so I was like, that's crazy. And that was definitely something that put it into perspective for me. And I take that with me when I apply it to what I critique and what I, you know, you can pull things from art that may not, you know, that art that doesn't pass it, and it's still important, but I do think that now that we know about it and we're aware of it, we just have to use it to, like you said, go forward.
All right, I got to do a call to action, folks. If you're listening out there, because I just wrote this down for myself, it's called the Bechtel test, right? And it just has that one question? Or okay, so go ahead and say it again. I'll say the call to action. The call to action is, I'm going to do it with you. Let's all do the Bechtel test, like our next 5 movies. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay, and say how we do it.
So it's basically just seeing if any 2 female presenting characters have a conversation together, just them, about anything other than involving a man, whether it's their son, father, spouse, whatever.
Boss.
They have, any sort of relationship that doesn't have anything to do directly with a man. Then it passes the Bechdel test.
Okay, we're doing the Bechdel test.
Holy cow. When I watch a movie, I'm there to watch a movie.
And that's okay too.
I mean, I don't really watch movies because they're so long. They're so long. I can't really sit still for that long. So I like TV shows.
That's fair.
So I feel like I could do the same thing with a TV show.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like all my favorite TV shows
All right,
fail. I'm not gonna lie. All my favorite TV shows are gonna fail. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Kelly said in our class was that like 80% of films fail the test, and so most of what you'll look at is just failing the test.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I'm thinking of the show Friends. Friends is my all-time favorite show, and it's just it's conflict after conflict. With a man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to work on that. Okay, but here's the answer because Lexi came forward with it. So I love this. Raegan? Raegan, I'm so sorry. Raegan brings the question for us. She brings the call to action, but Lexi brings the answer, right? So, which is making movies of our own. Boom. I love that. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
We kind of, on a personal, we're best friends also. So it's and we kind of found that we we work very well together, and we try to bring each other up whenever we have, wins and everything like that. Like Lexi, like you said before, she's very big in planning, and she's a wizard in the spreadsheets category. I am so bad at spreadsheets and planning like that, but I love to write. We balance each other off with what we don't like, the other picks up, and I think that's why we've been able to work together so well this far and for this long. So
that's awesome. So since you guys work so closely together and you guys are best friends, I absolutely love that. What kind of obstacles have you overcome together?
Well, definitely, we've come together and we discuss a lot. We really respect each other's opinions, even if they are different. And we like to talk. We like to branch out and get many different perspectives. We've had multiple, situations that we've had to go through this year, just to figure out what's the best step to do. And it's kind of in a not the most exciting, realm of whether it be confrontation or just a weird mix up. So we'd like to come together and talk about it and listen to each other's perspectives, as well as I guess ask and talk to other people who we think would help us in the decision making, and then kind of go from there. We don't like to just, neither one of us is my way or the highway. We are very collaborative.
Yeah, I think specifically this year it was a brand new challenge being the managers of the film club on campus, and we're very young. We're the youngest people in the studio right now, and we're managing people that are older than us, and that comes with a lot of conflicts, and people, it's hard for older people who have been here for so long and have gone through so much change to always respect, to young people, and let alone, to women who are figuring it out as they go.
Yeah.
And I think the best thing that I've learned is that Raegan will always have my back no matter what, and whatever decision we make it together, and with whatever information we have at that time, it's what we know, and we will make that decision with what we got. But I truly I feel supported all the way with Raegan.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you guys have each other to lean on and ask for help if needed.
Yeah, I love that too. I'm curious, is there any, you talk about that workplace bias, right? The older, younger, then there can be gender bias, right? All of that. Is there a particular success story that you've had this year as you've stepped into those manager roles?
I think our biggest success this year was the amount of young people we brought into the studio. We were very concerned at the beginning of the year. We're everyone is older. This organization's going to die with us. We have to figure it out. And so we brought in a lot of great general members this year that have just picked up so much of the extra slack that we needed picked up. And we have a lot of great potential coming in for these next few years, and we're really excited. And I think just the amount of motivation and support that was able to be given this year for them specifically to feel welcome and giving them a space to feel creative. I think that's kind of my biggest accomplishment of the year.
I think I agree with that, but also like in how we kind of did it is like we just reminded ourselves that, you know, because it's hard because in these sort of roles we're all very close and like film, we're very friends, we're friendly with everybody, and so it's hard to like also manage friends as well.
Yeah.
But we kind of made it like a point to be like, go outside of our comfort zones and be like, what is going to be the best for the studio? Like, we need to have younger voices and younger people in, otherwise there's not going to be anybody who's going to know what to do after we leave. So we definitely kind of that was something that we had to overcome as individuals together first before we could apply it to our situation. And that's something I'm definitely proud of both of us for doing. So
That's awesome.
Well, so management and leadership is my field, and I just want to say that is stellar, and I love how you discovered it, because so often we put ourselves first and not the organization first. But you know, I just, like, my heart just started pounding when you talked about your legacy commitment to keeping the organization alive. But then you gave us, you two are just so action oriented, you gave us this great question, right? When we're struggling, when we feel like we're in a dying organization or a transition or a struggling organization, a wonderful legacy question to ask is, what is going to be best for the organization, for the club, for the unit, for the company, for the nonprofit? Boom.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm taking good notes today.
Yeah, I think that was definitely like a big challenge because we just went through hiring for next year, and we had to have those really difficult conversations of what truly is best for the studio after we're gone. And it's truly about the future, and we had to, you know, have some difficult conversations that weren't, you know, the most enjoyable, but you have to do it because that's kind of where you're at when you're a manager like that.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I agree. When I was a student manager, I would also have those kinds of tough conversations with all of my, like, I don't want to say my students because they weren't my students. They were all my age. And like having those conversations, I'm like, ugh, I'm too nice of a person. I would be like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so sorry that I just talked to you like that after. And I was like, no, I have to be firm. I have to make sure that they know that I'm in charge, but also like they're in charge of themselves. So they just need to know the basic rules of being in charge as well.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's definitely something we had to work with too, is because we're both people pleasers a little bit.
Yeah, me too.
And, but we had to have conversations because not every conversation was, you know, the way that we expected it to go. And there were some ones that were like, woo, okay. But I think we knew, like, we can only control what we can control. We can't control reactions from our stuff, and we're doing what's best for like everybody. Like with the information, like you said earlier, the information that we have at the moment, we're doing the best that we can. And just kind of like removing ourselves because of the people pleaser aspect. It's saying it's not personal. It isn't a personal thing. We love everybody, you know, as individual people, but like there's only so many positions and we have to think of other things before that. And it was harder, but I think we knew based on of just after everything was all said and done in our like guts and our hearts that we did the right thing. So
you guys are so strong. So strong. I think I'd like go home crying. I'm just such a nice person. Like, I care about everybody's feelings, and I never want to make somebody feel sad or upset, especially in those like leadership positions. It's so hard. It's so hard sometimes.
And it gets awkward like 2 or 3 weeks after like that person looks at you differently because of that conversation. And you're like, I love you as a person, but I just have to make these tough calls sometimes.
Yeah.
And even as we like manage, our kind of thought process is very much like go at it nicely first and be like, just a reminder, like, you know, this is what XYZ if there's issues. And it's just like to a point too where it's just there's part of it where it's like we have to think of what's going to be best for everybody at the end of the day, because things may be working, things may not be working, and yeah,
I love that. I'm curious because you're talking a lot about your leadership roles, right? And so when did you know, oh my gosh, I'm the leader in the room? Like, did that hit you like when you applied for the manager job? Did it hit you the first conflict? Like, when did you know you were the leader in the room?
I feel like I've kind of battled it kind of the whole year. Like, I feel like sometimes I'm not deserving of the leadership role, and like at some points I'm like, oh, how did I get here? Like, who trusted me with all of this? But I think it really sunk in kind of one of our first big projects. It was like an entertainment shoot, and people were asking me what I wanted to do for it. And it was like, you want my opinion. Like, you actually want me to tell you exactly what I'm thinking right now. And I think that was like the first moment I was like, these people are asking me because they look up to me. And that was kind of my big moment is, I'm really leading this thing, and I got to do the best that I can.
I've always seen Lexi as a leader. She's just an outstanding leader. But I've always been kind of a loud and outspoken person. So I think I've always just kind of like, I'm there, like, when I'll give people a chance to be, step forward and be leaders. If it doesn't, I'll pull up the pants and go and, go get to it. So I think I think there's comfort in that too. Is like, I am somebody that kind of always knows I always have a vision of some sort, even if it's not me leading, just a backup vision. Yeah. So that if somebody needs help or whatever, they can kind of count on me to have an opinion about something and an opinion that can actually help move things forward too. Yeah. And so I think that's kind of where, I'm nowhere near as tech savvy as Lexi is. She's a wizard up here, but I definitely I'm very good at leading people and groups of people. I've done it, like, I've also been an RA, but I was also a camp counselor at a horse camp for a couple summers, and I don't know, I was also like a leader in my thespian group in high school, so I've definitely always had like kind of a louder presence, and I think that I try to use that now that I'm aware of it. I try to use that to let people come up forward too, because I don't think that my opinion is the best opinion always in the room, but I am here to kind of guide whenever it is necessary, and I'm also here to always remind Lexi that she is deserving of being a leader. So
that's so nice.
Yeah. What a powerful partnership. So while you were going backwards in your timeline, I was wondering, do you remember like the first time you noticed people were following you?
That's a good question. Probably, it's got to be sometime in high school. I have no idea, but like, maybe even middle school when I was doing, it's definitely in like theater realms or just kind of in any like those group project things where I'm like, all right, let's do this. And everyone's like, oh, okay, no, I don't have to, lead in that. I can just follow and go with it. So I think it's definitely probably stemmed from, I'm the oldest sibling of three. Yeah. And I was the oldest sibling and like the only sibling for 5 years. So I kind of grew up around adults who are already doing that. And so I think that partially is why I am the way I am.
Yeah. Yeah. So behind the loud is that you have something to say.
Yeah, most of the time. Most of the time I think I do. I have a very active brain, but I definitely am usually, like, I'm trying to think ahead of time. And like, we've had things before where a shoot is just like, we want it to be this way, we're not quite sure. And I'm like, even if I'm not directing what's going on, I'll be like, well, what about this? What are your thoughts on this? This might help get the vision that you're trying to get. And that I think is kind of a helpful info. It's just another perspective without being like, I'm in charge and I'm making the default decisions, because it's just like another suggestion in case they are like, I know what I want, but I don't know how to get there.
Yeah. So questions as leadership nudges.
Yes. I don't like to be like, this is the best, let's do that. I like to, it's a suggestion and let them make the decision kind of.
Yeah. No, I agree. I kind of am like that within the team that I work with as well. I'm just like, I can give you suggestions. Even if you don't take them, that's totally fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, that's me being a people pleaser.
Yeah.
Being like, if you like them, that's great. Just take them. It's okay. If not, that's totally fine. No worries at all. But yeah, I get it. So with your involvement a lot with Pointer Studios, how do you play those roles within the community?
Yeah, we do the telethon, which is a 12-hour straight live stream once a year. And we just finished ours on April 24th. And we tried it so this is the third ever year of doing it. So we were there for the first one, and we're trying to make it grow. And the first
I remember the first one, yeah.
Yeah, that one was just 12 segments. So 1 hour segments, and it was it was a lot. So we were like, well, how do we make it more engaging? And as we go on, we keep asking ourselves, what can we do to bring more people in so it's not just... like, we're not just making the content for us. What can we do for that? And so we've definitely been reaching out to, like, we've always had like this, like Lexi's always had the sponsorship brain, like thinking for sponsors, but we were more so thinking this year our focus was how many student clubs and other organizations can we get involved. And this year it was a medieval fantasy. So yeah, we got to get Falcon's Gate involved, which is like fencing and like other, they have a ton of different extra things. They're really cool. We have the Wargaming Club. We had somebody from the MLS department come in, and we did actually have a branch with 90 FM that was on. So yeah, we got a lot of those, and we just want to keep growing that sort of involvement, because then it not only is outreach for us, but it's also like the point of Pointer Studios is to be for the students as well. Like, yes, it's for us as individuals and, you know, furthering our media careers, but we are the media outlet, like the video media outlet, I should say, for campus. And so that's what we were like, it was kind of like a reminder for ourselves, being like, what can we do to give back in that way? Because we have all these facilities only because it's at the university. Kind of like that.
Yeah. And this year was our first year of doing like a week lead up to it. So we partnered with the brew house this year on the Thursday before the telethon. And we were like, hey, if we do like a drink night, you make these special drinks with these special medieval named, like I think, what was one of the names? Tis But a Scratch.
Yeah, Tis But a Scratch. Strawberry lemonade. But yeah, we came up with the drink titles. And I've done this before personally with like just family friend stuff. But I was like, if we do this and we invite people when we like do outreach for you guys, can we, you know, have 10% of what the drinks are? And like we just kind of like, that was kind of like, I just pulled it out of my brain and we were like, let's just turn it into a document, see what happens. And they were game for it. So that's really cool.
Really cool.
Taking risks in that regard.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about housing, because you don't just partner on the Pointer Studios, you both also are in housing. And I have to say that for me, I got to a number of years ago deliver a talk to people, to RAs, talking about their career potential. And I think it is wide open because of all the tasks you get to do, all the conflict you get to be, right? You're literally helping people as they're coming into themselves. And there's a lot of tension in that space, right? And co-housing. So I'm curious, how has being is it residential assistants? Yeah. So how has being RAs or residential assistants developed your leadership? And then what would you like to see in future RA leaders?
Yeah.
You go ahead and go first. You've been doing this longer than I have.
I originally applied to be an RA because I was so introverted and scared of confrontation that I needed something to just, you know, make me comfortable in that uncomfortable state of mind. And so I started in Neal Hall, which is where the athletes lived. And, you know, athletes could be really scary to someone who, you know, is not really looking for those big confrontation moments. But I think it really pushed me to, you know, be confident in my own skills. It's like, I know I have all the knowledge. I know what's right and wrong. I know all of that stuff. And it's really important because sometimes, you know, people and residents specifically, they make dumb decisions. It happens all the time. They're not thinking, they're with their friends. And, you know, it's about the safety of the students here. And I know that it is my job to make sure that everyone is safe. And that's the number one priority. If I am not doing my job, then that means somebody's life is at stake if I'm not doing it correctly. And
I actually became an RA because of Lexi. I was a commuter my first 2 years of college, and that was its own challenge. And I saw that Lexi was able to do this, and I thought that you had to live on campus, which you don't have to. You just have to have community living experience. And so I applied, and I was able to get in the suites. And I think that the most that I've, like, obviously the confrontation skills for sure, but especially just like more practice on when stuff happens, you gotta sometimes you gotta think fast and like do something about it. And I think that's definitely been like part of what I've learned, like just, you know, when things like we had an elevator incident last night where this like just wasn't working. And so I wasn't even on duty, but I was like, I'm just gonna step in and just taking that initiative. Cause like maybe, yeah, I could have, you know, called the other person, but it's just like, they're not gonna be able to do anything that more than I can. So I'm just gonna, you know, work with what I've got and the resources that I've got. And it's just a good practice of like, you know, when stuff goes wrong and like people are worried or whatever, just kind of like stepping in and finding a way to not only like boost, like what you said, boost morale, but also like move forward and get things going forward instead of staying in like a stagnant state, I guess.
Thank you for saying that. I also do want to ask, because you mentioned that you lead on a floor that's dedicated to the queer community. Yeah. How is that? How do you lead people that are perhaps dealing with matters of difference?
Yeah, I think specifically this year was like more of a challenge in like how I approach different ways of like doing my bulletin boards and doing door decks. Like it's really important that, you know, I'm thinking about what they're interested in. And in terms of like programming specifically, like we do a program and 2 socials every month. And so it's important for me to make sure that I'm creating spaces where they feel like they can have an identity. And so like in October, I did like a queer book at night, which is like a it's a game. It's kind of like Kahoot a little bit. And then my co and I, we did like a pride flag, DIY pennant flag. And so like people can make their flags and all that. And I think the biggest thing that I learned is that if they can come back home and they feel like they are safe, they have, you know, people who are surrounding them that support them and love them enough, and that there is events specifically for them and tailored for them, I think that's where they feel the most loved. And no matter what's happening in the world or what's happening on campus and all that, like as long as they have that space to go to. And specifically like for training purposes, like I think my biggest thing is I want to make sure that I'm approachable and that they can reach out to me whenever. And so like I have like a plaque outside my door. It's like a safe zone thing. And if they're going through anything, they know that they can talk to me about it.
Yeah. Well, I know just for a lot of us in that community, there just hasn't been the kind of broad support that we need, right? The kind of broad support that makes us comfortable talking about who we are and what our identities are. So I really appreciate your leadership in creating safe spaces. So that matters a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that students have people like you two who can come up to you and ask any questions, and you'll always be there to give a response or just to give a hug of some sort.
Yeah.
So to kind of wrap up the podcast just a little bit, I just want to ask one last question. When you think about women and in our role or in your roles, what's something that gives you the most hope?
I think what gives me the most hope is knowing, especially now that like it's been more acceptable to like online or in general to just be like yourself and be, you know, what you want to be. I think it's giving more women the courage to be as strong as they are inside and like outwardly express it. And I think that is, it's showing in like, I mean, we've had at Pointer Studios, we've had 4 consecutive female general members, or not general members, oh my gosh, general managers in a row. And so due to just like them being, you know, qualified as well. But yeah, we've had that, and it's just like it's showing up more in those spaces. And I think it's also like completing like just giving the spaces. Like I know especially Kelly Wills has been really good at like sharing, exposing just a little tiny things that like matter, like calling her professor and things like that. It's like because there's differences that, you know, male professors have over female professors in like how they're addressed and how they're respected. And that's something I didn't really know about before taking one of her classes. And I think that is also just like not only expressing my voice and doing that, but actively participating in lifting other women up and making sure that they feel respected and heard in their spaces so that they can do the same thing that I would want to be able to do.
Yeah, just adding on to that, I think just the pure determination that is within all of the women pretty much that I talk to and I see. And I think the one I saw recently on TikTok, and it was like how many artists and doctors and engineers and scientists have we lost because they were mothers first. And I think we're kind of in a place or a trend right now that I see where women are allowed to do both. They're allowed to be a mother, they're allowed to have a career first, they're allowed to do all of these things. And I think that pure determination and just drive and willingness to not only, you know, bring yourself up, but then also bring all the women around you too up. It's really cool. I mean, the cinematographer from Sinners just won, and like that's just like an example of like, you know, women just lifting up community, and it's like it only takes one person to get there, and then everyone else can follow.
And it's determination in fields that are sometimes actively trying to work against them as well is just another admirational point that I wanted to point out as well.
Yeah. So I love this. Can you just say a little bit more? Because you both have mentioned determination. What is determination as a woman to you? What does that look like or feel like?
I definitely think, kind of just piggybacking off of what I was saying, like I think determination is like continuing to go forward with your best foot, knowing you're a woman, probably like, well, depending on what you're at, but like
what you're presenting as.
Yes. And then like doing this in oftentimes a very male dominated space, especially in media and like radio, especially like it's a very male dominated space, and knowing your worth and knowing that you also have the same amount to bring to the table that your male counterparts do, and doing that so with confidence, even if it is like you receive backlash or whatever, just doing that and like that grit of even if you get shut down, keep going and persisting, because that's what we need. And that is like, we're catching up. We are catching up. And
Yeah, I think it's just that mentality of like, even when you get said no to, you just keep doing it. You keep going and you keep pushing further. And kind of something that my basketball coach always told me growing up was that simple doesn't mean easy. Like some of these tasks might be simple, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. And I think just approaching life that way is just like, you know, there's going to be paths that you think you have to follow, but as long as you just keep getting up and you keep waking up every day and you're giving your all, you're going to make it at some point, because there's no way you can't.
Yeah.
You're going to make it at some point. Can we get t-shirts? I want t-shirts.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Only a matter of time.
Yeah. Well, I learned a lot during this conversation. And I just want to thank you for that. It was such a pleasure to learn from you, to see what your determination looks like. And you know, as I think Kelsey and I always say, these conversations create a lot of hope for us.
Definitely. I loved every single second of you guys talk. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having us. That was very sweet.
Yeah.
It was a great time.
It was.
Thank you for joining us for our 10th series of Pointers Leading Together. We hope these stories inspire you to step up, speak out, and make a difference in your own communities.
Maya Angelou once said, "We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated." Let's carry that resilience with us into everything we do.
Be sure to tune in into our next series, where we will continue to amplify the voices of those creating meaningful impact.
Until then, keep pushing forward, keep advancing, and keep driving change.